Welcome to Transparency with Dr. C, the podcast where leadership gets real. I'm Dr. Brittany Castongway, and I don't like to sugarcoat things. So we're going to explore what it truly means to, lead with courage, connect, and be vulnerable. Because real leadership, it's not about having the answers, it's about showing up, owning your story, and leading from the heart. So if you're ready to grow, stretch, and be authentic, you're in the right spot.
Hey everyone, this is Dr. C from SHRI, and I want to thank you for joining us on this episode of Transparency with Dr. C. So today I want to talk to you about leadership hangover and what that is. I have felt this way too much at certain points in my career. I want to emphasize that this could be burnout, but for the purpose of today's conversation, it's not burnout. And we're going to talk about something a little bit different. I want to talk about what happens to leaders when they don't emotionally regulate themselves. And I'm going to give you some pretty fun examples as we go throughout this. So, emotional hangover is emotional and mental, sometimes also physical fatigue that happens after pressure subsides. So, you're like, you got a really hot task, you got something to do, the deadline's approaching, and you're just go, and you're all in, right? What happens to your body the moment that pressure goes away? Everything comes down, right? All those emotions, that fatigue, that stress, all of that's going to come flying back in. And so if you can't tell yourself that you felt like this before, you might be lying. Like, no BS. You're probably lying because we all feel it. I feel it at the end of the day sometimes if I'm just constant all day long. Full transparency, it happens. It happens to the best of us. What happens if we don't put in healthy coping skills, or this becomes a regular part of our day instead of like a once in a blue moon kind of thing, is that we will burn out, right? We will become ineffective leaders. Our emotional regularity will trickle over into other parts of our lives, and that's no bueno. We don't want that, right? We want you to be really good, strong leaders. And so that's why I'm talking to you about this topic today, because we feel it 100%. So what happens when the crash happens, right? So we have all of this adrenaline, all this cortisol flowing through our body. We're all hyper-focused. We're in go mode, right? Our nervous system doesn't get the signal that it's okay to rest when we're going. Everything takes over. For me, I'll forget to eat. I love food. I'm not going to forget about my cup of coffee. Just bring the pot with me, right? But I'll forget to eat because I'm so busy that my body doesn't tell me that it's hungry. It's not signaling to my brain because it's almost in like a fight or flight instinct, right? My body is, evolution has told us that my body has to react a certain way when things happen, right? So at one point it would have been for survival instinct. Well, now it's getting this proposal out on time, so I meet the deadline. Very different triggers, but what's causing the stimuli in the body is still the same. The body is still reacting as if I'm running away from a saber-toothed tiger. But we all know I would have been the one going, psst, 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 come here, let me pet you, kitty, kitty. I would have died hundreds of years ago because I tried to pet a saber-toothed tiger. No joke. So, oftentimes, we don't reward relaxation, especially in Western culture. 100%. If I tell my husband and my kids that I'm not working tonight and I'm not pulling out my computer, they act like I've just grown another head because I don't ever do that. That's me, and that's my work ethic, bad, good, and different. That is part of who I am in order to scale SHRI and to bring you the content that I am bringing. And I know that this is my baby and this is what I'm doing right now. The goal is to not continue to do that. There is an end goal, end state. I'm in rev mode right now, but I don't plan on being in this for very much longer. We have to learn as leaders to reward decompressing, not just doing. Doing is great. Getting those metrics, closing that deal, winning the contract, getting everything done in order to meet our KPIs and everything that we tell ourselves so that we can make our investors, our stakeholders, our bosses all happy. That's fantastic. We should continue to reward those because that's how businesses thrive and that's how we grow. In the same breath, I also want you as leaders to value decompressing. I call it work hard, play harder, because I don't want you to experience burnout. I don't want you to get to this part where you are experiencing that emotional, physical, and mental fatigue, because that is going to lead to those irregularities that lead to burnout. So let's talk about emotional fallout. What does that look like when you don't regulate yourself and you just keep going? So when you're experiencing the emotional fallout that comes from a leadership hangover, you can experience, emotional irritability, overthinking. Self-doubt is huge, anxiety, emotional flatness, and then even detachment. And so the quiet guilt that follows these big moments is, did I do enough? And did I miss something? This honestly doesn't just happen from like really high stress situations. It can happen when you make a poor leadership decision. And so it can lead to decision paralysis. That's the word I'm thinking of. It can lead into decisional paralysis. And so I want to give you an example, a really bad example when I was early in my military career of something I did that bothers me to this day. Okay, so I'm a new officer, but I'm still like 27, 28. Like I'm not that young in years of like work experience, but I'm young in the military. And this shames me so much, which is why I shared the story. So, young officer, I have 3 kids at this point. I breastfed all of my children, and I know that that is a very sensitive topic. So, I go away to training. And while I'm away at training, I was away for like 5 to 8 weeks. Like I was away for a good amount of time. One of my airmen had a baby and she was back at work and she was breastfeeding. And so I had one of the only offices that actually had like a closed door that wasn't Cube City where you could hear everything. And so I was away. She was using my office to pump, which was absolutely fine. But when I came back, she didn't really have anywhere to pump. And her office was in Cube City. So the cube didn't go up all the way. It was open, but women sat on either side of her and she could still shut her door all the way. I'm so embarrassed. And so when she told me that she was looking for somewhere to pump, I was like, hey, like, just pump in your office. Like, no one can see you. It's still quiet. And she's like, well, I can't relax. And if you're not a woman, if you can't relax, you can't let down, which stimulates milk production if you didn't know. It's like, it's just turn on your music, like turn on the radio, like no one will be able to hear you. And she's like, but everyone can still hear like the sound. And I was like, I don't think the ladies next to you are gonna care. Like they're all women, we've all done this, like it's okay, like just use your office. And she was like, okay, thank you, ma'am. She was very polite. I wish she had told me when I was an LT, be like, LT, that's stupid. You're wrong. And she didn't. And so instead, she was quiet about it. She was super respectful. And, somehow it kind of got up to someone else in our leadership chain that wasn't directly in our chain of command. So it wasn't directly in our section anymore. And that officer, who she really respected, was another woman. And so she talked to her. And so she did what I should have done, which was wrong. She found her a closed office that nobody was using, that she was able to go and pump in. And that's what she did. And then that officer that she confided in came and talked to me on the side and said, Brittany, did you do that? Did you really do that? And it wasn't until that point that I realized what I did was wrong. And I was mortified, and I tried apologizing. I really did. And she was respectful. She's like, "It's okay, ma'am. Like, I found something." And I'm like, "No, like, I'm sorry. I did not realize what I did. I was so busy trying to be a young officer and to do all the right things that I messed up, and I didn't even realize I messed up." And then I found myself second guessing myself. And by the way, that relationship was never the same. I wasn't able to build a strong rapport with her from the beginning because I wasn't there very long, and she was on maternity leave, and then I left for training, and then she came back. So we really didn't have a working relationship, let alone a personal one. And then I go and blow it. And that relationship has never been the same. Yep. And so then I found myself asking myself after that point, when I had to speak to my airmen, did I miss something? Did I mess up? And I would seek guidance. And so I actually took it and learned as a positive, but it's still something that haunts me to this day. I still feel the emotional burnout from it. And it's been about 10 years now. It's definitely been close to a decade, and it still bothers me. It could have bothered me to the point that I developed decision paralysis and wasn't able to move forward from that. So luckily, I had mentors in my life at that time that I was able to go and talk to. And I had this officer who thought at least kindly of me to sit me down and have honest feedback with me and be like, "Dude, you messed up hard." But it happens. Whether you're in a go, go, go mode or you're just trying to do the right thing, if you don't stop and take a moment, you're going to miss something. And taking care of your people is the number one thing that you can do as a leader. And man, I messed that one up hard. And so I use this scenario to process the hangover. What can we get out of that? What drained us about that experience? So what am I using as feedback reflectively and 360 feedback from around me to improve, to become a better leader? And so think about that. What drained me from that experience? I was mortified. I was embarrassed. I didn't want to look her in the eye. I was, ugh. And even now, to this day, a decade later, when I see that on my social media, she comes up every once in a while as like friends I may know. I'm like, can't send a friend request because I was never able to repair that relationship. Do better than me. And so, what parts of you feel empty and unsettled? And this is something that I really feel when I come out of like a really high drive situation. If you have previous military experience and you've ever done an exercise or you've ever deployed or been in a training environment, there's no down, right? Especially if you're deployed, you're gone and you're in deployment mode. That's what it is. Like, you're just going, but you're going for 6, 9, 12 months at a time. And if you're Army, you're gone maybe even longer. But for us, for Air Force, you're gone about 6 months, and it's just go, go, go. All you do is do the mission, you work, you sleep, eat, and hopefully work out. There's no time to think about the things that are going on outside of that. And so it really does leave you feeling empty emotionally, spiritually, physically, mentally. It just robs you of everything because of the environment that you're in. Now, in high stress situations outside of the military, you can experience this every day. Maybe not in, definitely not in the same like stressor type of way, but you can experience leadership hangover and burnout. And so you do that because your body is in that fight or flight instinct mode. You're not giving it time to rest. You're not giving it time to, decompress. And so think about that. What leaves you feeling emptied and unsettled? For me, it's connection, because I don't get to connect with the people that I love most. I'm working. And so that just like sitting down on the couch near my kids and watching TV with them or having dinner with them, I feel emotionally deprived of that when I'm in my go mode. So I want you to think about what's yours that's depriving you. And so another question you think about is, what did I learn about how I led under pressure? There's going to be really good times when you're like, we killed it. I did everything I was supposed to do. I was the authentic leader I needed to be. I was transparent. I communicated. Boss move. And I want you to celebrate those wins. And then there's going to be other times where you're going to be like me and you're going to be like Dr. C. She fudged up hard. Because I did. I messed up. I ruined a relationship that was very fragile. I was new to a team and trying to come in and set my boundaries. And it was rocky. And that's kind of like what fortified the leader I didn't want to be. I did not want to be known as someone who didn't take care of the people, who just kind of like brushed them off and it's like, oh, it's fine. It wouldn't bother me, so why would it bother you? Well, that's stupid. That's not leading with empathy. That's not thinking about their perspective. And so I always try now to think about how does that person want to be treated and follow up with, additional questions. Like, what do they want? What do they need? What would make them feel valued, seen, and heard in this conversation at this moment? That's not something that I really embodied at that point in my life. And it's something that I do now, as a result of the situation. And so here are some things that we can do throughout the day in our week that are really great that I would love for everyone to implement to help reduce this leadership hangover. Because remember, if you're not taking care of this leadership hangover, it's eventually going to lead to burnout, which can lead to a lot of other unhealthy things. And I don't want any of that for you in your life. So throughout the day, take a few minutes to just take a break, put down the electronics, walk away. I love having personal conversations with people. I'm an extrovert. It's how I connect. It's my social battery. I have a people meter. If I don't meet that people meter for the day, my husband knows, because the moment he gets home, I'm like, let's talk. I have to talk. I haven't talked enough today. What are you doing? And I become so annoying. He's like, why are you talking so much? Because I didn't meet my people quota. Duh. That's how I like to rejuvenate, as crazy as that sounds. There's other ways to do that, especially for my introverts listening. Close your door, shut down the electronics, and just breathe. Practice breathing techniques. I've had therapists that I've worked with in the past that used to teach tapping, especially like around pressure points and stuff, because that was a way for people to ground and focus in a stressful situation. Walk outside for 10 minutes and stand in the sun. Maybe not in September and August in Florida, because you're probably going to melt on the sidewalk. But we don't get enough vitamin D. And the best way to do that is to stand outside for 10 minutes. And I've heard other speakers talk about how just standing in the sun for 10 minutes or just walking around their pool for 10 minutes just helps them feel rejuvenated and energized, because you're getting that natural sunlight. It's creating vitamin D. It's releasing endorphins. It's going to make you happy. Again, maybe not in September and August in Florida, but it's a good idea. It's a good technique. I am a Christian, and I always look at my devotional before I go to bed. The last thing I do is I read my devotional for the night. If you're spiritual, look at your religious text. Text somebody that you haven't texted in a while. Hit up your loved one, call them, listen to meditation music. There's so many things we can do. Small little breaks just help reset you. And some of the other things that you can also do too is like journaling, walking, silence, self-regulating tools. If I were to go get my yoga mat out right now and start meditating, I'd be asleep. So I don't do that. But everyone has something that makes us happy, that's healthy for us, that we can do. Take those few moments every day and just reflect and just get back to center on what makes you happy. And then ultimately, if those things aren't working and we're too stressed and we're too strung out, talk it out. Have that crucial conversation. Just tell someone I'm stressed. And then something that I implement, and I actually have done it with my children too recently, is that I'll ask if someone wants to come and have a conversation with me. Especially if I feel like it's going to go into like just a bitching scenario. I'm like, do you just want to complain or do you want advice? That is another technique that you can use to feel seen, valued, and heard. And sometimes I'll look at my husband and I'll be like, you're not my best friend, but you're all I have right now. So I don't want advice. I just want to complain. And he will. Lord love that man. He will just sit and listen and let me complain. And I will do the same for him. Because I know that there are stressors in our lives that sometimes self-regulation and self-reflection and journaling just can't do on their own. But if we're not taking care of ourselves first, we can't be the leaders that we need to be to our teams. And that's why I ultimately say if these little techniques aren't working and you still find yourself in go, fight or flight mode, and you're starting to reach that period of burnout, or you're starting to snap at your team, you're starting to snap at your loved ones, you don't have patience, the dog got in your way as you were walking and that just sent you over the edge, talk it out. Tell someone. Say, I'm not doing well right now. I had a bad day. You know, it's okay to have a bad day. We all have them. Just talk it out. I promise. And so what are some things you can do to rebuild that energy and clarity in your life? I want you to create a leadership recovery plan. Yeah. Something that I always like to do after a long, hard week is I'll pick a day and be like, this is my recovery plan day. You do it when you go to the gym. You got a day off. If you're on a diet, you have a cheat day, right? You have to have something for your leadership too, because if you're not taking care of yourself in all of your capacity, right? Mental, physical, emotional, psychological. Did I say mental? Like, you got to take care of yourself. And it's not just going and working out or eating healthy. It's also regulating all the stress that we have to take care of so that we can show up and be the best versions of ourselves. And so now we're going to talk about what a leadership recovery plan looks like. Okay. Prioritize sleep, people. And I'm talking for everyone in the back of the room. Prioritize sleep. Because if you're not sleeping, you're not hydrating, and you're not exercising, what are you doing for your physical well-being, right? You're not recovering. You're not getting your heart rate up. You're not doing healthy things for you like moving. And I realized I'm that woman that when I go to get in my car in the morning, I have my big jug of water and I have my coffee cup. Because you're not going to see sister without those two things in her hand, right? Coffee is my love language. Water keeps me hydrated. Keep yourself hydrated. Drink your water. I love this one and I really hope you start practicing it. Have gratitude. Find thanks for things in life. Finding little things every day to be thankful for and saying it out loud, writing it down, reflecting, sending a text message to someone, just saying you're grateful for them. One, changes everything, but it makes yourself more aware of the positivity going on in your life versus the negative. Oh, I love it. Something that I love to do when I'm out is compliment people. Because again, I'm an extrovert. My introverts, I understand. I'm not trying to scare you. I love people. I love connecting. So I will look at somebody and be like, oh my God, I love those shoes. I'll look at their kid. Where did you get that outfit? No way. Love that store. And you know what? I feel good because I was grateful for something else and I found something else that I can enjoy, but I made that person's day by giving them a compliment. You don't know how far a compliment will go. That's what I do. I find gratitude in those things. So what are things you're thankful for? You know, is it being able to pay your bills on time? Is it having your grandmother home from the hospital? Is it, knowing that you have a job or you have somewhere to lay your head are you are so close to meeting your financial goal so you can book that trip or buy that house? What are you grateful for? We all have something. Sometimes I'm just grateful that my husband cooked dinner and I don't have to. Tuesdays, every Tuesday, because he's crazy and is a creature of habit, my husband will make Taco Tuesday. And let me tell you, I'm grateful on Tuesdays because I'm not cooking. I'm not going to complain about tacos. I might not want to eat tacos, but I'm grateful. And so that's giving me emotional clarity and rejuvenation. And then relational. Look, we already know Dr. C will talk. My husband says I'm the worst for Southern goodbyes. So when he goes to events with me, if we know we have to leave at 7, at like 6:50, he's like, hey, we got 10 minutes. At 7, he's like, it's time to go. At 7:10, he's walking closer and closer to the door. And then usually by like 7:30, I'm out the door. But the joke is always, especially if he doesn't come home with me and he's already at home with the kids, like last night, perfect example. I got home from a networking event. I walk in, my daughter's like, I thought you were going to be home at 8:30. I'm like, it's 8:20. I'm home early just so I could see you. And my husband's like, you're home early. I was like, Southern goodbyes. It only took me 20 minutes to get out. And he laughs because that's good for me. But I'm relational in that aspect. So connect with people. People fill my social meter, right? We've already established Dr. C likes to talk. I got a people quota. Got to fill it. How are you relational with people? How do they help ground you? You know, when my grandmother was still alive, I used to be calling her every day on the way home from work. After my papi died, my grandfather. Every day after work for years until she passed, I called her on the way home. And that filled my emotional cup, and I know it filled hers. And it's something that I appreciate to this day. It doesn't have to be people. You don't have to have a people quota. But find that one person that you love, that you do life with, that you connect with. Text them, call them, send them reels. That will help build your relational cup, fill it, and help you decompress from things that are going on in your life. And then I want you to reframe rest as a reward. Sorry. I don't want you to look at rest. Yes, I do want you to look at rest as a reward. That is correct. I want you to look at it as a necessity, a non-negotiable to leadership. If you're not showing up to be yourself, to be the best version that you can be, to be the transparent and authentic leader that your team needs you to be, you have to prioritize rest as a non-negotiable. 100%. If you do nothing else from this podcast, prioritize rest in whatever form that looks like. Sometimes for me, rest is just sitting on the couch next to my husband, watching TV. Rest is having dinner with my children every day and not working. Rest is saying tonight I'm going to go upstairs at 10 to get ready for bed versus 11. Right? There's different types of rest. For reading my Bible and my devotional every night before bed, that's rest for me. Being grateful. Not cooking on Tuesdays. That's a type of rest. So prioritize that so you can be seen, valued, and heard. And then I want to leave you with this last thing about leadership hangovers. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And you can't lead from one that's not refilled. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and you cannot lead from one that's not refilled. So instead of embracing the leadership hangover, I want you to take the steps that you need to prioritize rest. And I hope that after today's podcast that you have the tools that you need. And then I want you to sit down and build your leadership recovery book. And I would love for you to share with me what that looks like. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate everything that you do by just following me, liking, sharing, and commenting on my material. You help me become a better version of myself when you do that. So to my followers, thank you. From SHRI, I'm Dr. C, and you just listened to Transparency with Dr. C.